Imagine looking at the optimal configuration to build an organic solar cell. What factors would you look at? What materials would you use? All of these questions can be answered by using machine learning, which can help us to predict a series of affordable solar cell alternatives. I'm going to be talking about my research on creating a neural network using the skills which I acquired over the past year to predict favorable configurations for halide perovskite solar cells in order to solve the problem of global warming. Global warming is a problem that can be solved by using solar energy. However, solar energy is expensive and not a viable option for everyone. Minerals called perovskites have rapidly emerged in the field of photovoltaics and have shown promise in reducing the cost of solar energy due to their high abundance in the earth. Perovskites have a general formula of AMX3, where A is a cation, M is a divalent metal, and X is a halide. The first perovskites for which photovoltaic properties were observed were the methylammonium lead halide perovskites, with an efficiency of 3.8%. Since then, the efficiency of perovskites has increased exponentially. The only issue that is preventing the wide-scale implementation of these perovskite solar cells is the shelf life. While silicon solar cells can withstand extreme temperatures, perovskite solar cells are easily damaged by heat and readily dissolve in water, which makes the production of these solar cells extremely difficult. Current solar cells made of perovskites can only be made on the small scale, so they aren't ready for implementation yet. In order to combat this, I'm creating a neural network to predict the stability of various perovskite compounds. Since the methylammonium lead halide perovskites were the most favorable in terms of efficiency and stability, one might wonder why those aren't being researched in more depth. However, the detrimental health effects of lead are well known. Using a regression model, I will try to find alternatives to the composition of these perovskites by analyzing factors such as the heat of formation and bandgap, which portray the stability and efficiency of these perovskites, as well as factors such as chemical structure, which might influence the absorption of light by these cells. Since there are many different types of perovskite compounds and almost infinite alternatives, a neural network is necessary to analyze and optimize the factors that are currently getting in the way of their wide-scale commercialization. My inspiration for this project came from a paper by Im et al. In Nature Computational Materials 2019. In this paper, Im et al. Implemented a gradient-boosted regression tree algorithm in order to predict the heat of formation of various perovskites. They also performed statistical analysis on the selected features in order to identify design guidelines for the discovery of new lead-free perovskite alternatives. I've used the dataset from this paper in my project, and I attempted to replicate their research by creating a neural network to produce the best performing compounds. The first model that I made was a linear regression model, which was meant to find the line of best fit for the data. However, this model was extremely inaccurate and was not suitable for the prediction of the heat of formation. Furthermore, I left out all categorical data for simplicity. The conclusion for this model was that it was inaccurate and was not to be meant to predict. This motivated me to create an even more highly accurate model using a neural network which I could train to predict with extremely high accuracy. So what is a neural network? A neural network is an artificial intelligence structure inspired by the neurons in the brain, which helps a machine to learn. A neural network is comprised of many layers and nodes, which continue in a chain-like manner until an output is produced. The first layer of a neural network is called the input layer, and the last layer is the output layer, while the layers in between are the hidden layers. Depending on how important a given parameter is to the final result, each node is assigned a different weight and bias. The result from each node will influence the result in the subsequent nodes, and before long, we'll get to the output node. Neural networks are also very well suited for dealing with nonlinearities, so my issue with the linear regression model would be solved. In my neural network, I also added back all categorical data and one-hot encoded it. The first time going through a neural network might result in low accuracy, so it's necessary for a process called backpropagation to occur. Backpropagation is a process which allows the neural network to see how close it got to the actual value. In training a neural network, it is necessary for the network to go through various cycles of forward and back propagation. One of these cycles is called an epoch. Depending on the size of your data, you might need hundreds or even thousands of epochs in order to properly train your data. The more you train your data, the more accurate your model will be. So how do you know when to stop training? If you train too much, something called overfitting will start to occur. Overfitting is when the model is trained too much and it starts to memorize the data, so it won't be able to perform well on examples which it hasn't seen before. And if you don't train it enough, something called underfitting will occur. In underfitting, the model will essentially just randomly guess, and you won't get high accuracy. It is important to find the right amount of epochs for your neural network to run properly. After training, the neural network should be able to accurately predict the final output. I looked at the distribution of my data as a violin plot. Here in the upper left, we can see as the excite element goes from chlorine to iodine, the energy of the NP6 orbital increases, and so does the heat of formation. In the other violin plots, we can see the distribution of the data and get a sense for which elements are going to be performing more accurately. In order to prepare my data, I first looked at a correlation matrix and dropped all parameters which had low correlation, because they would impede the working of my neural network. On the right, we can see my two correlation matrices. The top is the initial correlation matrix, and the bottom is the new correlation matrix after dropping all the unnecessary values. After doing this process, I noticed a significant increase in accuracy, from 70% to 98%. In my neural network, I also added back all categorical data and one-hot encoded it. One-hot encoding is a process in which we can convert categorical data into numerical data. In this way, I could include more important data points and increase the accuracy of my model further. So here we can see my results after running the neural network. I found that compounds containing rubidium, copper, and indium were the most suitable for use because they not only satisfied the low heat of formation requirement, but they also had reasonably low bandgap, so they were ready for practical use. This also coincided with the findings from the Im et al. Paper. In conclusion, I was able to create a neural network to predict various highly performing perovskite compositions based on various factors. This can be applied in the field to look into even more favorable lead-free compositions. In this way, we can finally make progress towards solving the overarching problem of global warming. Thank you.